that moment feeling like, what do we do from here? What can we do from here? And I wasn't willing. I wasn't willing to let George Zimmerman have the period to the story. I wasn't willing to allow for the only conversation to be another young black boy is dead and nobody is held accountable. And so I went to social media. Many folks in our generation, it's like the online diary, right? And I was talking to people, we were asking questions, raging with people, and trying to figure out who else is upset. Also figuring out who wasn't talking about it. And leaning into this moment that could have been incredibly divisive. But instead finding my good friend Alicia Garza, who had wrote a love letter. And that love letter ended with Black Lives Matter. And I remember seeing those 3 words and putting a hashtag in front of it. And Alicia said, well, what's a hashtag?
Yeah.
She's a little older than me. And I said, that's gonna make this thing go viral. And within 48 hours, by July 15, 2013, I wrote a Facebook note. And I said, hey everybody, Alicia and I have started this thing called Black Lives Matter, and I hope it gets bigger than I can ever imagine. That's where you clap. And what we've witnessed from 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 is a movement that started in Los Angeles, Oakland, and New York that is now global.
Woo!
Black Lives Matter has 40 chapters across the globe. Here in the US, in Canada, and the United Kingdom. We see it used in Germany, we see it used in South Africa, we've seen it used in Ghana, we've seen it used in Brazil. This conversation that when black people get free, everybody else gets a little bit more free. It's not just a conversation in the States, it's a global conversation.
Africa unite.
Our work, every single person in this audience, this is a work of the collective. A work that every single one of us have to put our bodies and spirits and love on the line for. What we recognized 3 years later, in 2016, on that devastating day, what we recognized is that this is not just a fight to stop the killing of black people. This is a fight for the soul of this country. That when we allow our everyday rights, and we allow the people most marginalized in our communities to get their human rights stripped away over and over and over again, that doesn't just give other people more privileges, it actually collectively strips away our rights. And so our work is not to stand by in silence. Our work is not to close our eyes. Our work is to be wide open. Our work is to be as woke as possible. Our work is to be connected. Something that this country has done over and over again has attempted to disconnect us, not just from each other, but ourselves. The work of Black Lives Matter, while some people may see it as the work of protest and disruption, and while I love a good protest and I love a good disruption, I promise you this work is about health and wellness as well.
Woo!
This work is about how we love each other. This work is about how we support each other. This work is about reminding us what it means to be a human being. And every single time there is a new news clip that is about devastation or harm another shooting, more rights being taken from us. Every time I watch and read, I remind myself that it isn't about just imagining strife and pain and suffering, that we actually have to truly imagine us living and thriving. When I first started doing this work as a young person, I really wanted to think bigger, more open, more fluid. And something that I always thought about, someone imagined handcuffs. Someone imagined putting a human being inside a cage. Someone imagined torture. So we can imagine something different. We can imagine life. We can imagine reversing climate change. We can imagine nobody having the right to touch women's bodies. No one having the right to tell trans people who they are. We can imagine a world that is made for every single one of us. I can imagine my 3-year-old growing up and being able to walk home in his neighborhood not fearing for his life. It's not just about protests. It's not just about legislating away hate. It's also about what we dream about, what we care about, what we love about. Emerge. Y'all hear me? Are you with me?
I love you!
Our lives do not depend on the government. Our lives depend on us. We shape this place. We shape this place. We shape this place. And so if there were bright-ass lights on my face, I would try to look everybody in their eyes. But I promise you it gets better. And it gets better when we get better. It gets better when we decide it gets better. It gets better when we show up on the right side of history. On July 13th of 2013, I could have read Black Lives Matter and said, you know what? They do. I'm gonna keep it pushing. But I decided a different fate, not just for me, but the entire world. We get to decide the fate for ourselves and the entire world. Every moment is a historical moment. I'm so grateful for this evening. I'm so grateful for y'all. Do not leave this conversation here in this room. Continue it, organize around it, use it, talk to your families, talk to your loved ones, teach it if you need to. And most importantly, love on yourselves. We need each other so much right now. Ashe.
Yeah!
I was 16, he was 19.